For the British, they basically feel that the relationship economically and politically is more important than whoever is actually in the White House. Let's bring in Avis Jones-DeWeever. She's a U.S. political social commentator. Avis, good to see you as always. Your take on this visit. I know there has been some criticism that the British have basically groveled before the feet of President Trump.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, they understand the game that needs to be played. This is someone who has an ego the size of this planet. And so for them to be able to have discussions with him that might move the needle in the direction to their benefit, they understand that they first have to stroke his ego and make him feel special, like he's a little kindergartner. But ultimately, what they're really concerned about to me is what you just discussed. I mean, the war is still going on with Ukraine, between Ukraine and Russia. And Europe as a whole is in danger because of what's happening there. And so with Trump's hesitancy to really be a firm proponent of NATO, and with all of his seemingly sort of love affair from afar and maybe even from near with Putin, they are pretty concerned about what may happen in the future. So they'll have to put on this pomp and circumstance in order to perhaps have some very serious discussions behind the scenes that they possibly believe may better strengthen their ability to interact safely throughout the European continent.
Well, the Trump card, so to speak, that the British have, which no other country has, Canada certainly doesn't, is the royal family. And I know that Donald Trump was a big fan of Queen Elizabeth. He's a big fan of King Charles. We're just showing, Avis, as you and I are talking, Marine One coming down for a landing, and the president will then make his way to Air Force One to fly back to the States. And that relationship between Donald Trump and the royal family is, you know, really the magic formula here for the British, isn't it?
It certainly is. I mean, that's no pun intended. That's their Trump card, right? So they can pull that out of the hat because let's just be very frank here. They are living Trump's wildest dreams. I believe it is his fantasy that he is not the president of America. He is the king of America. I believe it's his fantasy that his children will be the heirs to the throne, so to speak. And so he is loving every minute of it because in his little, Trump brain, he's probably thinking, wow, I would love to be able to mimic this in some way. And given everything that we've seen in this country that on many fronts looks to be, honestly, the demise and the deterioration of democracy, he is really trying to figure out how can he create a similar reality for himself and his family right now.
So a successful visit, and for the British anyway, and I would imagine that Donald Trump will tout the visit in which he was extremely well treated, and the British lavished all sorts of different ceremonies, military parades, the Air Force, soldiers, you name it, on him.
Absolutely. I mean, he loves all that. So he loves the whole pomp and circumstance. He loves the red carpet. He loves to be hobnobbing with the royal family. That is the part that really keeps him enthralled. And I truly believe strategically, if they can, on the one hand, butter him up with all of the pomp and circumstance, but on the other hand, have him have very serious talks with the prime minister, it is their hope that perhaps the prime minister may be a bit more successful in any serious discussions that he has with him after having such a wonderful sort of reception. And as you mentioned, unprecedented experience with having a second state visit by a United States president. I believe that they are strategically thinking this is what we need to do to potentially get him to commit more wholeheartedly to the defense of all of Europe if this Ukrainian war not only fails to end, but through some means begins to get out of hand and to encroach upon other NATO nations.
Any advice quickly for us in Canada to navigate the relationship? Because we don't have a king who lives here in Canada, of course.
You know what? I'm very impressed with the way that your prime minister has very, very expertly been able to communicate in a way that shows firm strength, but also understands this sort of ability to need to, in essence, almost feel like you're trying to amuse a child. And so I think you guys are going in the right direction.
Avis Jones-DeWeever with her take, political social commentator in the U.S. Always good to see you, Avis. Thanks for this today.
Wonderful to see you, too.